My sister banned me from her 400 guest wedding, so I flew across the country anyway, dropped off a tiny silver box, and left. By the time she opened it in front of everyone, she'd learned three things. 1. Our grandmother's $2. 3 million jewelry collection was never hers. 2. The embarrassing sister who just takes pictures secretly owns a multi-million-dollar studio. And 3. Everyone at that wedding now knew exactly who she really was. If you've ever been treated like the invisible one in your own family, hit that like button. If you've ever fantasized about that one perfect moment where the truth finally blows up in front of everyone who doubted you, subscribe and stick around. And tell me in the comments, have you ever been the forgotten one? I want to know where you're watching from and what time it is where you are, because this story starts in Boston and ends 3,000 miles away with my phone lighting up like a Christmas tree. Let's dive in. My name is Myra Wells. I'm 28, and I grew up in one of those houses that looks ripped out of a magazine, 3-story colonial in Beacon Hill, Boston. White trim, perfect lawn, the kind of place that smells like old money and legacy. From the sidewalk, we were the perfect family, wealthy, respected. Summers on Martha's Vineyard. Charity galas with the right people. Inside, there were 2 daughters, and only one that actually counted. That was my sister, Victoria. She was 3 years older and 3 times as adored. She got the big bedroom with the bay window, the designer clothes, the private piano teacher, the dance recitals my parents actually showed up for. I got the hand-me-downs, and their absence. As a kid, I didn't have words for it. I just kept trying harder, better grades, cleaner room, quieter voice, as if there was some secret unlock code to make my parents finally look my way. I figured it out on my 10th birthday. I'd been counting down for weeks. Double digits felt huge. I pictured balloons, a cake with my name, maybe even a party like Victoria's Pony, and catered lunch extravaganza. That morning, I woke up early, heart pounding with this fizzy excitement only kids get. I ran downstairs. The kitchen was normal.
No balloons, no streamers, no cake.
My mother was on the phone at the Marble Island, flipping through a planner. Yes, the florist said peonies for Victoria's cotillion. Yes, white only, of course. My father's briefcase was by the door. He'd already left. I stood there in my pajamas, bare feet on cold tile. Mom, I said, trying to sound casual. It's my birthday. She covered the receiver with one hand.
Didn't even look at me.
I know, sweetheart. We'll do something later, okay? Later never came.
No cake.
No song. Not even a card. That night, I sat on my bed staring at the blank wall, trying not to cry because crying felt like proof I cared too much. Then there was a soft knock. The door opened and my grandmother stepped in, my dad's mother, Eleanor. She smelled like lavender and old books, and she always looked me right in the eyes. "Happy birthday, my darling girl," she said. She sat on the edge of my bed and handed me a small wrapped box. My heart raced. I peeled back the paper and froze. It was a camera. Not a plastic toy, not something from a cereal box, a real camera. Silver body, leather strap, heavier than anything I'd ever owned. "You have an artist's eye, my dear," she told me, cupping my cheek. "One day, the world will see what I see in you." At 10, I didn't fully get it, but that camera became my world. I photographed everything. Cracks in the sidewalk, dust motes in the afternoon sun, the way light hit the church steeple at dusk. I didn't know it then, but that little camera was my ticket out. And my grandmother knew exactly what seed she was planting. Fast forward 8 years. I graduated high school with a full scholarship to the Rhode Island School of Design, one of the top art schools in the country. I'd worked my ass off, portfolio, AP classes, part-time job. The ceremony was on a Saturday. I'd been chosen to give a speech about following your passion. I practiced in the mirror until my voice went hoarse, imagining my mother's proud smile, my father's handshake. The morning of graduation, I came downstairs in my cap and gown, clutching my speech. Victoria sat at the kitchen table scrolling her phone. My parents hovered over my father's laptop. "The ceremony starts at 2. I said. We should leave by 1 to get good seats. My mother didn't look up. Sweetheart. Something came up. A chill slid down my spine. What do you mean? My father finally glanced over, annoyed. Victoria has a networking event with Goldman Sachs. It's a huge opportunity. We can't miss it. I blinked. It's my graduation. He sighed like I was being dramatic. Photography isn't a real career, Myra. Maybe you should think about business school like your sister. Victoria smirked into her coffee, saying nothing. She didn't have to. The message was clear. Her future mattered. Mine was a hobby. So, I drove myself to my own graduation. I gave that speech to a room full of strangers. And when they called my name, when I scanned the crowd, I saw exactly one familiar face. Grandma Eleanor. Front row. Clapping like I'd just won an Oscar. Afterward, she took my hands and leaned in. Remember, sweetheart, she whispered, the greatest treasures aren't always the ones people fight over. Sometimes they're the ones quietly passed on. I had no idea that one day, those words would detonate like a bomb in the middle of my sister's wedding. After graduation, I did something my parents never believed I would. I left. 2 suitcases. 1 one-way ticket. Los Angeles. I didn't say goodbye. There was no point. For the next 10 years, I built my life in silence. I started at the bottom, assistant to a wedding photographer, hauling gear, sweating under hot lights, memorizing every setting, every trick, every angle that made people look like their best selves. I learned. I hustled. I saved. Client by client, referral by referral, my own name started to mean something in the industry. Everlight Studios was born in a tiny shared workspace with peeling paint and a view of a brick wall. 10 years later, it was a glass, walled office in downtown LA. Floor to ceiling windows. A 12-person team.
Celebrity client.
Magazine features. Over $3 million in revenue last year. My parents never asked. To them, I was still Myra, who takes pictures of strangers. The only time my phone lit up with a family call was when Victoria wanted an audience. I just closed a 7-figure campaign, she bragged one night. Senior marketing director at 29. Corner office. And I'm engaged now, hedge fund guy, you'd love the ring. What about you? Still doing those little photo shoots. I glanced around my office at the awards on the wall and bit back a laugh. I'm doing well, Victoria. Congratulations. Thanks, she chirped. Mom and Dad are throwing me a celebration dinner next week. Obviously, you're not invited. It's just immediate family. Immediate.
Family.
Of course, I said. Have a wonderful time. I hung up, set my phone down, and let the words sink in. They'd written me out of the script of my own family. And then, a few months later, the only person who ever made me feel like I belonged
Died.
The call came on a Tuesday morning. I was neck deep in contracts when my phone buzzed with a Boston number. Miss Wells? This is Harrison Lawson, Eleanor Hartwell's attorney. I'm sorry to inform you. The rest blurred. I flew to Boston that night. The funeral at Trinity Church was enormous. Hundreds of people, artists and donors and old friends, all there because my grandmother had poured herself into beauty and the people who created it. I sat alone in the 3rd row. My parents sat up front, accepting condolences. Victoria dabbed at her eyes in a designer black dress. Between hugs and murmured sympathy, I noticed them whispering. The jewelry collection, Victoria hissed at one point. Not here, my mother whispered back. We'll ask the lawyer after. I stared at the casket while my family circled like vultures over my grandmother's legacy. It made my stomach twist. After the service, as people filed out, a hand touched my shoulder. Miss Wells, a gentle voice said. Could you stay a moment? Your grandmother left something specifically for you. It was Mr. Lawson. He led me to a small office, shut the door, and slid a manila envelope across the table. 2 years ago, your grandmother came to see me. She was very clear. Inside was a notarized document and a letter in my grandmother's elegant handwriting. I read the amendment once.
Twice.
A 3rd time. The entire Hartwell jewelry collection. valued at roughly $2. 3 million was left to me, not to my mother, not to Victoria.
To me.
My hands started shaking. Then I opened the letter. My dearest Myra, Victoria sees these pieces as trophies, status symbols to be displayed and envied. You, my darling girl, see their history, their meaning. You understand that beauty isn't about possession, it's about preservation. Your mother and sister will be angry. They'll say I made a mistake. But I've watched you grow into someone remarkable, even when no one else was watching. These pieces belong with someone who will honor them. They belong with you. All my love, Grandma Eleanor. I pressed the letter to my chest and sobbed like a child. There's one more thing, Mr. Lawson said gently. Your grandmother requested this stay confidential until you decide the right moment to share it. I nodded. I didn't know when that moment would come. I just knew that, for once, the truth was on my side. I kept that secret for 6 months. I didn't know I would reveal it with a neat little white ribbon at my sister's wedding. 3 months after the funeral, word got out. Victoria was engaged. Marcus Thornton. Old money. His family owned half the commercial real estate in New England. It was exactly the kind of match my parents had dreamed about since before we were born. The wedding? The Grand Belmont Hotel in Boston. 400 guests. 6-figure budget. The works. I waited for my invitation. Nothing arrived. Finally, I called my mother. Hey, Mom. I haven't gotten an invitation to Victoria's wedding yet. Should I RSVP directly or... Long pause. Myra, the wedding is very intimate. Victoria felt it would be better if you didn't attend. I almost laughed. Intimate? There are 400 guests. I saw her Instagram. You know how you can be at these events, my mother said softly. Awkward. We don't want anything to distract from Victoria's day. The words landed like a slap. Awkward.
Distracting.
Not wanted. I see, I said. Thanks for letting me know. That night, I scrolled through Victoria's posts, dress fittings, engagement party, registry at Tiffany's, captions like, can't wait to marry my best friend in front of everyone I love. Everyone.
Except me.
So, quick question for you watching this. If your own family banned you from your sister's wedding, what would you do? Would you crash it? Cut them off forever? Plot something nuclear? Tell me in the comments, because what I did wasn't exactly planned as revenge. But it sure ended like it. If you're still with me, tap subscribe. This next part is where fate, or maybe Grandma's ghost, deals the final card. 2 months before the wedding, my assistant poked her head into my LA office. Myra, you've got a call. Someone named Caroline Ashford. My heart skipped. Caroline Ashford is the wedding planner on the East Coast. Senators, celebrities, old money dynasties, if your last name opens doors, she plans your big day. She was also one of Grandma Eleanor's closest friends. I picked up. Caroline, it's been a long time. My dear, she said, voice warm. Eleanor talked about you constantly. She'd be so proud of what you've built. I swallowed the lump in my throat. Thank you. I have a bride in Boston, she continued. Very particular. Very demanding. She wants the best, and I told her, Everlight Studios is the best. I smiled. I appreciate that. There's one thing you should know, Caroline added. The bride is your sister. I went very still. Victoria signed the contract last week, she said. She saw your portfolio, fell in love, had no idea you own the company. She just knows the name, Everlight. I exhaled slowly. And you? Knew. Of course, Caroline said. Your grandmother told me everything. She always said, the truth finds its own way out. The contract is signed.
15 $12 non refundable deposit.
Whether you show up is up to you. My sister had banned me from her wedding, while simultaneously paying my company to immortalize it. I didn't engineer it. I didn't trick her. But I felt that first little spark inside me. Not spite. Not yet. Just
possibility.
Then I heard about Victoria's bridal brunch at the Four Seasons. 30 women. Champagne. Crustless sandwiches. And Victoria, center of the universe, holding court. So Grandma's pearls will be my something old, she announced. The Hartwell collection is worth over $2 million. It's been in our family for generations. Obviously, she wanted me to have it. Oh, of course, some friend gushed. She adored you. Well, she knew I'd appreciate those pieces properly, Victoria said breezily. Not like my sister. Myra wouldn't know Cartier from costume jewelry. My mother nodded along, sipping her mimosa. Your grandmother would want you to have them, sweetheart. You were always the one she was proudest of. The delusion was almost impressive. What neither of them knew was that Victoria's inheritance was already sitting in a vault with my name on it. She'd even commissioned a custom display case for her dressing room, ready for jewels she was never going to receive. She'd hinted to Marcus's family. She'd bragged to her friends. Her entire wedding image was tied to heirlooms she did not own. And the only person who had the receipts was me. 3 days before the wedding, I booked a flight from LA to Boston. One way. I didn't tell anyone. I packed a simple dress, my essentials, and I prepared my gift. A small silver box. White ribbon. Light in the hand, heavy in implications. I curated what went inside like a photographer curates a portfolio. A certified copy of the estate amendment naming me sole heir to the Hartwell collection. Grandma's handwritten letter explaining why. A photo of me and Eleanor outside her favorite jewelry shop. And on top of everything, folded neatly, a copy of the Everlight Studios contract with owner, Myra E. Wells printed at the bottom and the $15,000 non-refundable deposit spelled out. The night before my flight, I couldn't sleep. My brain buzzed with doubt. Was I about to blow up my entire family for good? Should I just stay in LA, keep my secret, keep the peace? But here's the thing about being invisible for 28 years. At some point, the cost of staying silent outweighs the cost of speaking up. I wasn't going to crash the ceremony. I wasn't going to scream or flip tables. I just wanted one undeniable moment where they had to see me for who I really was and who Grandma had always known I'd become. At 6 a.m., I put on a dusty, rose dress, simple and elegant. I did my makeup with steady hands, looked in the mirror, and whispered, "You can do this." I tucked the silver box into my bag and headed to the airport. The Grand Belmont Hotel looked like money and ego had had a baby. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, floral arrangements big enough to hide small children in, a string quartet playing while guests in couture drifted toward the ballroom. I hovered near the reception table, clutching my silver box so tightly my fingers ached. "Good afternoon," I said. "I'm here for the Wells Thornton wedding." "Of course," the receptionist smiled. "Name? Myra Wells. I'm the bride's sister." She ran her finger down the list. Once. Twice. Frowned. Flipped a page. Harold Wells, Patricia Wells, Victoria Wells. She bit her lip. "I'm sorry. There's no Myra." The ballroom doors were open just enough for me to glimpse inside. White linens, towering centerpieces, people laughing over champagne. 400 seats. Not one for me. "Is there someone I can call for you?" she asked gently. "Oh, there is," I said. "I'll handle it." I stepped aside and called Victoria. She answered on the second ring, voice sharp. "Hello." "It's Myra," I said. "I'm at the hotel. My name isn't on the guest list." Silence. Then a sigh. "I know. That's because you're not invited." Even expecting it didn't soften the blow. My throat tightened. "I'm your sister," I said quietly. She laughed, a short, cruel sound. "You really think you'd be invited? This wedding is for people who matter, Myra. Important people. Not someone who takes pictures for a living." "I flew across the country," I said. "I just wanted to give you a gift. To wish you well." "A gift?" She snorted. "What could you possibly give me that I don't already have? Let me guess, some homemade photo album? A coupon for a free shoot?" Her words were acid. And yet, I felt strangely calm. "That's okay," I said. "I'll leave it at the reception table." "Fine. Whatever. Just don't cause a scene." She hung up. I stared at my phone for a second, Then I smiled. Because the most satisfying scenes are the ones you don't even have to be present for. I walked to the gift table. It looked like a luxury brand showroom, Tiffany blues, Hermes orange, gleaming white boxes with gold bows. Among all that excess, my little silver box looked almost humble. Almost. I slid a card under the ribbon. To Victoria, from your sister, Myra. As I turned to leave, the receptionist called after me. Are you sure you don't want to stay? I could talk to the coordinator. I shook my head. Some gifts speak louder when the giver isn't in the room. She looked confused. I didn't explain. I just walked straight out of that glittering bubble and into the crisp autumn air. Outside, I booked the earliest flight back to LA. As my taxi pulled away from the hotel, I checked my watch. Cocktail hour would start soon. The MC would eventually invite the happy couple to open a few special gifts. And somewhere on that table,
my box would be waiting.
While I sat at Logan Airport nursing a coffee, the Grand Belmont Ballroom was a movie set. Ivory linens, white roses, hydrangeas brushing the chandeliers. 100 tables full of people Victoria wanted to impress. She was glowing in her Vera Wang gown, dripping diamonds. Marcus sat beside her, the perfect accessory. During cocktail hour, she'd bragged as usual. Just wait until you see Grandma's collection, she'd whispered to her guests. I'm inheriting it. Over 2 million in heirloom pieces. I'll be wearing the pearls to the Met Gala next year. They'd gasped on cue. Then dessert rolled out, and the MC took the mic. Ladies and gentlemen, he boomed, our bride and groom would like to open a few gifts with you before we cut the cake. Polite applause. Victoria practically floated toward the gift table. She opened a baccarat vase. Sterling candlesticks. Each time, she flashed that polished smile. Then her hand landed on the silver box. She glanced at the card, smirked. Oh, look, she said loudly. A gift for my sister. The one who couldn't even be bothered to show up properly. A few nearby guests shifted, uncomfortable. Marcus frowned. Well, go on, he said. Let's see what she sent. Victoria tugged off the ribbon, still posing. She lifted the lid. On top was the estate amendment, stamps, signatures, legal seals. Her eyes skimmed the first lines. Her smile died. She went pale, then red, then pale again. What is it? Marcus asked. Beak. Victoria didn't answer. Her hands started to shake. The handwritten letter slipped from her fingers and fluttered to the floor. My mother hurried up, alarmed. Sweetheart? What's wrong? Victoria shoved the document at her. Patricia's eyes raced across the page, and her knees wobbled. This has to be a mistake, my mother whispered. It's dated 2 years ago, Victoria hissed. Before Grandma even got sick. Whispers rippled outward like shockwaves. Is that the jewelry she was bragging about earlier? She said it was hers. The words, 2.3 million, floated through the room like a curse. This is fake, Victoria suddenly shouted, gripping the papers. Myra forged this. She's always been jealous of me. My father joined them, face grim. He snatched the letter off the floor, reading Grandma's handwriting. Victoria sees these pieces as trophies. Myra sees them as memories. I know who will honor my legacy. He swallowed hard. He knew his mother's signature. He knew when something was genuine. This can't be happening, Victoria choked. Not today. Marcus pointed into the box. His voice was tight. There's something else in there. Victoria dug through the tissue and pulled out the contract. Her eyes hit the header, Everlight Studios Wedding Services Agreement. Then the line. Owner, Myra E. Wells. Amount paid, $15,000, non-refundable. She stared like the page might catch fire. No, she whispered.
No, no, no.
Marcus took it from her, reading in stunned silence. You told me, he said slowly, that your sister was unstable, that she couldn't hold a job, that your family had to cut her off. He looked up, voice suddenly cold. You never mentioned she owns a multi-million-dollar company, or that you hired her. Victoria spun around, wild-eyed. Where's the photographer? She demanded. Get her here. A young woman stepped forward nervously, camera hanging at her hip. "I'm the lead photographer tonight," she said. MS. Wells, Myra, owns the studio. She doesn't usually attend shoots herself. But you work for her?" Marcus asked. "Yes," the photographer said. "Everlight Studios is kind of a big deal." Now the whole room was buzzing. "They shot the Whitmore wedding, right? I heard they're booked 2 years out. Did she say 3 million in revenue?" At this point, if you were there at table 9, you'd be discreetly filming on your phone, too. And that's exactly what someone did. I'll spare you every word that followed, but here's the highlight reel. Caroline Ashford, the planner, stepped in and calmly confirmed the will was authentic. She'd personally witnessed Eleanor sign it. She repeated, in front of everyone, exactly why my grandmother chose me over Victoria. An old friend of Marcus's father stood up and said, "Myra shot my daughter's Malibu wedding. 600 guests. She was brilliant." Another guest chimed in. "Everlight did our gala. They've been in vogue." Piece by piece, Victoria's story about her loser sister disintegrated. Marcus looked at her like he'd never seen her before. The way, honestly, everyone did. Back at the airport lounge, my phone lit up.
Victoria. Mom. Dad.
Calls, voicemails, texts. "Victoria. Pick up. Pick up. What did you do?" "Mom. Myra. We need to talk about this stunt." "Dad. This is unacceptable. Call me immediately." I watched them stack up. 47 missed calls by the time my boarding group was announced. I didn't answer any of them. As I walked onto the plane, a new message popped up from an unknown number. "Marcus. Myra, this is Marcus Thornton. I got your contact from the Everlight contract. I need to understand what happened tonight." He explained how Victoria had painted me as mentally unstable, a failure who couldn't hold a job, and how he'd never bothered to question it. "I'm realizing now that was a mistake," he wrote. "I'm sorry for believing her without ever speaking to you." I sat in my seat, the plane taxiing, and typed back, "Thank you for reaching out. I don't hold anything against you. Whatever you decide about your relationship is your choice. I just delivered the truth your wife didn't want to face." His reply came quickly. "The wedding happened. I don't know if the marriage will survive it." Then airplane mode kicked in. The fallout was intense. A TikTok from the wedding hit 2 million views in less than 24 hours. Caption: "Rich bride finds out her loser sister is a millionaire. The karma is insane." It showed the moment Victoria's face changed, Caroline's calm confirmation, and Richard Payton bragging about my studio. Comments poured in. Grandma knew exactly what she was doing. This is the quiet sibling revenge fantasy of my dreams. Not her losing $2.03 on live wedding cam skull. My studio inbox exploded. 300 new inquiries overnight. Reporters emailed. I ignored them all. 3 days later, my mother walked into my office in LA looking like she'd aged 10 years. She stared at the Everlight logos on the wall, the awards, the glimpse of my team working beyond the glass. "This is yours," she said. "All of this?" "Yes," I answered. "This is what I've been doing while you were busy." We talked. For the first time, she listened. Really listened. She admitted how they'd poured everything into Victoria because she was loud, because she demanded it, because I was quiet, and they mistook invisible for okay.
She cried.
Ugly, shaking sobs. Told me Grandma had tried to warn her she was losing me. Did it erase decades of hurt?
No.
But it was a start. A crack in the wall.
Victoria?
She wasn't doing as well. Marcus postponed the honeymoon. Moved in with his parents to think. Her job asked her to take a leave of absence to let things cool down after the viral video. She blamed me, of course. But here's the truth. I didn't forge a thing. I didn't book my own company for her wedding. I didn't brag about jewels I didn't own. I just put everything she'd been pretending didn't exist in a pretty silver box and let the truth do what it does. 6 months later, the video's old news. The internet's moved on like it always does. But my boundaries? Those stayed. I visit the Hartwell collection sometimes in the bank vault. Pearls from the 1920s. Art Deco diamond earrings. A sapphire brooch that once belonged to a duchess. I don't see trophies. I see my grandmother's hands fastening clasps, the stories she told me, the way she believed in me when no one else did. I've already arranged for the most historic pieces to be loaned to the Boston Museum of Fine Arts in her name. The rest I'll keep safe. One day, if I have children, they'll inherit them, with the story, not just the stones. The last time I went to the vault, the manager handed me a small envelope they'd missed. Another note from Grandma. My darling Myra, I left Victoria something too, a small pearl bracelet that was my mother's. It isn't worth much money, but it's worth a great deal if she can understand what it represents. I hope one day she will. Love always, Eleanor. Even in death, she hadn't given up on my sister. Maybe I shouldn't either. My mother calls once a week now. My father sent a long handwritten apology letter. I haven't decided yet what to do with it. Victoria and Marcus are in therapy, trying to untangle what's real and what's the image she built. And me? I'm still in LA. Still running Everlight. Still taking pictures of strangers and catching the moments that mean everything to them. I used to think the most satisfying revenge would be making my family beg for forgiveness or flaunting my success until they choked on it. But standing in that airport, ignoring 47 missed calls, I realized something. The best revenge isn't destruction. It's living a life so solid, so honest, that their version of you simply can't survive contact with the truth. I didn't show up at that wedding to ruin my sister. I showed up, quietly, to finally be seen. The silver box just did the talking for me. So now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to set a boundary with someone you love? Did it cost you a relationship? Did it save you? Tell me your story in the comments. I read as many as I can, and you never know. One day your story might be the next one I tell here. If this hit close to home, if you've ever been the invisible one, the underestimated one, please like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that they are not the problem for wanting to be seen. Check out the next story linked in the description. It's another dose of poetic justice I think you'll love. Until next time, remember, you are not an afterthought. You are not a background character. You are worthy of being seen. Goodbye for now.